Welcome to the Global Exclusive Podcast. Today, we are introducing, I guess, the first global premium unit, and with it, we need a premium guest. Hey, Sinzar.
How's it going, guys?
Is Sinzar really a guest at this point? He's been on like more podcasts than Hazard, probably.
I think he's been on more than Cotton and Dream as well, including
Uh,
the weekly stuff, maybe.
I mean, Cotton and Dream used to make it every week. I'm not sure if Sinzar has caught up to them.
Well, we'll see. Sinzar, you still need to catch up to them. So once you do that,
I'm working on it.
all right. Yeah, today I think it's like probably one of Global's favorite Glexes. Got an NV, Stormseeker Esther. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like definitely a fan favorite. And it was kind of hinted at a little bit when she was mysteriously left out of the fan vote contest like 8 months ago. So that was like kind of a hint.
8 months ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I've always had mixed feelings about Esther. Like, for starters, she broke the power curve, which was really annoying when she came out. But also, I feel like literally the only reason that people liked her at the time was because she was busted. If she hadn't been, people would have hated her like they hated like name any number of units. They didn't care about Kaito. They barely cared about Tsukiko.
Okay, but you never understood the true intentions of the producers. I spoke to them personally, and they told me about Tsukiko. But you have a point.
sorry,
It's
you're
because
right.
she did break the power curve, and she was a bunny girl.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked many times about premium units, but I am not thrilled about that. Damage-wise, Sinzar, you have your own calculations, right? Do you want to talk about how she stacks up compared to other units?
Yeah, based on the early data mine numbers, which are still which are accurate and all. It's just like I haven't gone through like with the builder and all and really
Yeah.
optimized the gear, but like at a rough estimate, she's pretty high. She's like top 3 or 4 in like regular content. The only ones that are higher than her are things like Graph or like Double Hand Tifa, and that's before you start gearing for killers. Once killers enter the equation, Esther is very likely to shoot up to possibly number 1 because she gears for killers extremely easy.
She has so many slots open.
Oh, she does. She is super easy to gear, which is great. Unfortunately, in Clash of Wills, her damage is actually quite a bit behind things like Laura and Sky. She's really high on this current Clash of Wills, mostly because of her 60% Thunder Amplify, and most parties are running like a 30 to maybe 45 Thunder Amplify for like Laura and Sky. So when you see the breakdowns, it's showing like Esther a lot higher than she would be on like an all things being equal target. But still, it's really good damage. And in Clash of Wills, she's more of a tank anyway.
Yeah. The builder is not updated, so I have not been able to run effective health calculations for her. My impression just from glancing at her kit is that she's probably not like anywhere close to Maeve tier. Her physical mitigation just isn't really very impressive. Aside from she has the mag, or I don't know what you want to call this. It's not a Grandis, it's not a Magnus, but it has like charges that you can rebuild.
All right, somebody needs to explain that to me. I tried reading the news and it like flew over my head. But is it basically that every time she uses her LB, she refreshes that cooldown?
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's not a cooldown. It just has a set number of uses. It's a Magnus that you can recharge.
So is it unlimited technically then?
Yes.
As long as you use her LB enough, yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like the idea here. This is the kind of mechanic where I would love to see them do more with it. I think that there's some interesting stuff they could do. The question is, I'm not sure how much longevity it would have if they started doing it all the time, because this could really just end up feeling like really samey units. And the other problem is that we're in a meta now where burst damage is really all that matters. So being able to reuse a Grandis is not as useful as it would have been a year and a half ago.
Wasn't one of her Grandis an Omni cover?
It is. Yeah, it is.
So that sounds pretty useful.
It is definitely.
Yeah,
and when I first heard the news video from Shally when they first introduced it, and she said that Esther's LB is going to recharge Magnus abilities, I immediately had in my head like permanent duration Holy Imbue from Kresnik, like permanent duration 95% mitigation from Shadow Lord for the whole party. But no, it's only for Esther. It's not party wide like I originally thought it was going to be.
That would have been way too OP.
Yeah, I do think that Esther is very tanky, like, as long as she can keep that mitigation buff going. But outside of that, I think she's probably going to be. It's hard to gauge effective health with that specific build, but I would say probably like Gabranth level, maybe higher. I don't know.
Is so the question becomes: is she a damage dealer first, or is she a tank first? Because right now in Cow, she's more used like a tank, but I think in DV, she'd definitely be a damage
But
dealer.
as far as some of the upcoming future like JP trials that are just bonkers, I'm not sure if she'd be able up to
Wait,
the task.
this is news to me. We're getting trials again.
Oh yeah, some of the future JP stuff are insane, like really insane.
Oh, now
So when you say insane, do you mean that they are difficult, or just that they do very high damage, and you have to like re-raise your tank?
Both. Yes. If you
Okay,
want to,
okay.
if yeah, the future trials, if you want to do them in the turn limit for the mission, I still can't do any of them beyond the point we're at in global. The very next trial due to global is War Mech, and starting from that one, I have beat none of them in the turn limit because they are insanely hard to beat in the turn limit. It's possible, people have done it, but I mean, you need some EX3 next level whaling for the brand new units to do it.
Yeah, but
In
I
the
mean,
turn.
like mechanically, are we talking about like?
is it
Oh,
elemental Tetris again?
Unfortunately, no. They're pretty simple. Like Warmech's entire gimmick is he does 1.7 million fixed damage per turn. That's that. So it's
Oh.
insane. It's goofy, but as far as complicated, not at all. He's got like a move set of 3.
I mean, doing fixed damage to your tank, I'm okay with that as like a unique boss mechanic. Um, if all of them are like that, where it's like just they hit very hard and there's no real strategy or like planning out different turns or defensive like ways to prepare for different mechanics, then that's not necessarily as interesting.
Well, it kind of depends. For example, Warmech is extremely basic, extremely dumb. It has basically no mechanics. It's just deal high damage. The one after that, Gloomwing, he actually does have quite a few mechanics. He berserks. He has things you got to handle with like special ailments and resistances and turn rotations, etc. It's like Gloomwing is definitely a step up. It's still just tuned so hard that maybe 0.1% of players can actually do it though.
Hmm.
So, do you think the Glex stuff that we have, like the units and the buffs, do you think they'll help, or is it not really much of a change?
Oh, absolutely. I actually posted a few hours ago on Reddit the preview for the next trial, which is Warmech, and I actually had a little paragraph in there pointing out all the ways Esther seems to be hand designed to counter this trial. Like she checks off every single box you want for that trial to do it in the turn limit, do it with like the few mechanics you need to do. Esther like nails every single one of them.
So what you're saying is that for people that were on the fence about Esther, they now have an excuse to pull for her. Great.
I mean, she seems like just a good unit in general. She does. Like the only nitpick I have is her Clash of Wills damage is a little on the lower side. I kind of like. I'm just tired of using Laura Croft and Sky for every single Clash of Wills, and
Carton.
they're always the MVP. Carton, not so much these days. He's still good, but he has fallen out a little bit. But Sky and Laura, I mean, they are on everyone's rank 1 team every single month since they came out, and it's getting kind of old.
The longevity that those two units have is crazy, though, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, Laura might be like one of the best damage dealer banners who have pulled on. I mean, not only is she good, but like her card is premium tier, and she
Oh
was
yeah.
not a premium unit. So yeah,
Oh yeah, she is, and she's crazy like outside of Clash of Wills too because of her 90% break, which is a tremendous deal in Dark Visions as well. It's like she's just
yeah,
one of the best units we've ever had.
yeah. Um,
But I think Esther's up there in terms of like one of the best units I've ever had in terms of like utility and like what she does. She's pretty
Possibly. I
unique.
mean, this is always one of those things where it's hard to say in the moment. You really have to look back on it, but
Yeah.
she's good. I think the problem is always the premium price tag, which
Oh yeah.
is it's especially since now, like before, the advice that we gave people was skip premium banners, pull on global exclusive units, because these global exclusive units are as good or better in most situations, and they're cheaper. But now we're seeing global exclusive premium units, and it is like, are most of the globally exclusive units going to be premium from now on? Are they all going to be this good? Are they going to be better? We don't really know.
There's also the thing about I mean, all the premium units released in GL so far were damage dealers. This is the first time where the premium unit is actually a utility based unit with Esther being a tank too. And I think and this might be reading too much into it. Alien intentionally avoids giving support units. Maybe they do in the future, but support units the premium tag because they know how valuable those things, and I guess it draws less cash because damage dealers can overcap easily. But it's just really weird that Esther, the first global exclusive premium unit, is also the first utility premium unit.
Honestly, I kind of call Cetra Descendant Aerith more of a utility unit. Like, I know she has the Holy Reflect thing, but I'd really classify her as a
But
support
she was
unit.
a free unit. Let's be honest. Like she was more free than she was a premium thing.
I mean, I guess, technically.
Yeah, Cetra Descendant Aerith was really just Adlam's way of getting people to accept the idea of premium units by giving them one that wasn't quote unquote really premium because she was free. So,
And that's why I think Gumi choosing Esther and Esther as a support slash damage dealer, utility damage dealer, was really interesting type of choice, I guess, in releasing a global first premium. Has JP released more premium units that are utility based?
Yeah, they've got 2 upcoming that are just 100% pure utility.
Okay.
I'm not sure their official names. It's the Dark Fina and the regular Fina. Ashura's Pilgrimage. I usually call them like White Fina and Dark Fina because one is like a dedicated all-in support for holy teams, and one of them is like an all-in support for dark teams. They have like everything in their kit. They're really, really good, but they're premiums and they are pure dedicated support, no damage at all.
So basically, what you're saying is for people that want to use Sephiroth, they need to pull in Dark Fina again.
She really is good. I have her in JP. I lucked out of her with tickets. I was so happy. But yeah, she really is good. She's premium though, so it's really expensive.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about Esther. I mean, let's Muspel's favorite topic: STMR's vision cards.
the TM it's fine. It's not. I mean, but it has killers on it, but it's only 25%. But it's for 4 races. It's got 60% attack. You're going to use this sometimes. The better your gear is, the less likely you will, I think. But I have seen far worse TMs, and this is one where I would, if I had a copy of her, I would Moogle it. I might not Moogle more than one though. Well, I would probably Moogle more than one just because it's trust Moogles. What are you going to do with them otherwise? But I don't know. I doubt I would ever use more than 1 or 2 copies.
Okay, but that STMR.
The STMR is quite good. It is a 2-handed greatsword with 220 attack, which makes it the highest attack 2-handed weapon in the game, I believe, by a noticeable margin.
For the moment, yes. Technically, Kane's Chronicle should be higher, but Global messed up and didn't release it with the event, so it's coming. It's coming soon.
Yeah, and then it also gives 500 static attack to Esther, Envy, and the 7-star version. Not that you're likely to use the 7-star version. And then 75% LB damage to anyone. This will be better once we get the variants update. Assuming that it affects this weapon, I mean, this being Gumi, I could see them messing up and forgetting to apply it to global exclusive weapons. Who knows? But assuming that it gets the variants update, that will improve it.
Yeah, and obviously, Esther fucking loves this sword.
Yeah. The thing to keep in mind though is that like 220 attack is a lot, but small differences in weapon attack are a lot less impactful than you would think. Like, because even comparing it to like relatively old TMs, you're gaining like 40 attack with TDH that goes up to about 200 attack. That's not nothing, but it's pretty minor for anyone other than Esther. You're probably looking at what, like somewhere between 3 and 7% damage.
And Greatsword and Peril still the best Greatsword and Peril still 30%, isn't it? So guns still win out in the end.
Cloud does 35%, but that means you're bringing Cloud, which is not recommended anymore.
Yeah. So, Sinzar, do you have anything to add about Esther before we move on to, I guess, Cal?
Wait. Come on, Shadow. We didn't talk about her vision card.
Oh yeah, of course.
The vision card is actually very good. She's a premium unit, and that's pretty normal for premium units. 125 attack. It also has high defense, 110 defense, which is it's either the highest or tied for the highest. I think it's tied for the highest. It gives attack and defense while using a great sword. It gives killers, and it gives LB damage. So for her specifically, this is outstanding because normally when you're gearing a unit, you have to choose between tank or DPS because you can't use different cards in different forms. So like Chow has that problem. He can't really do both very well. Like you can give him a spirit card, but that hurts his HP. This card, you're not really compromising in any meaningful way. The problem, obviously, is that it requires EX3, which is disgustingly expensive.
Yeah, and I think this card also brings like 50% killers to a lot of like desirable killers. That's
Yeah,
comparably hard to gear for, I think.
yeah. This is, I mean, this is like the best card in the game, right?
Not really. Actually, for Esther, her best in slot is actually the Leave Things to Me card because it also has 110 defense on it. It's got attack. It actually works out to more attack because that one gives flat attack and this one does not. It's kind of like a really big handicap for this being a premium card is having 0 flat stats at all.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Leave Things to Me the
Yeah, it was
that
the
was-
card on the Tulian banner that if you pulled on Tulian, you got the card guaranteed, but it did cost 25k.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, they had to sell Tulian somehow. Still,
I
good
have a
card.
story about this. Well, not really, but like I pulled on the Kane banner after coming back to this stupid game. I don't know why I installed this stupid game again, but after coming back to this dumbass game, I pulled on the Kane banner on the 25k step up, thinking that if I finished the step up, that it was enough to pity Kane. But no, you only get 6 of the 10 required coins. What bullshit was this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lesson here is make sure to read.
Yeah. Don't be like Shadow. The other thing that happened this week is we got didn't we get like Edel crowns and
Was it that
Fissilus
last week
crowns?
or was that this week?
Oh, it was this week.
Yeah, Edel got crowns.
And Fissilus too, right?
Yep, Fissilus and Adele both got crowns, and one's good, one is not.
Talk to me about Edel.
I'm assuming Edel is the good one.
Yeah, if you have her in like the fully whaled out build with external support, including a weapon in peril, at EX3, she burst about as hard as Graf, which is insane. And she gears for killers a little bit easier than him as well. So she is incredibly powerful on the burst if you all in invest in her with all the crowns, with external support, etc. The big handicap with her is that she can't do that until turn 6. And many Dark Visions fights have this artificial turn limit of like 4, sometimes 5 turns before they fail your perfect run. And she just can't be used on those unless you're bringing Roka. Then she can, but at that point, her value drops a lot because you're taking 2 slots for 1.
Yeah.
But technically, in Cow, theoretically, there hasn't been anything that I guess. No, I'm wrong.
Not really as well because again, she can be used, and if you're using Roka, then sure. But like Clash of Wills bosses for the past like 5 in a row have always been you need to do 2 bursts in a relatively short time frame. So Adele couldn't do it until turn 6, meaning if you're using her for the burst and you need her to finish the fight, you can't do it again till turn 12. At that point, you've already failed your perfect run.
Yeah. The main thing here to consider, I think, is we might see more units that have the cooldown reduction. I don't think has JP gotten any since Roka?
No, so far Roka is the only one.
So we might see a global exclusive unit that does it. Like the I think like what do they call them? The keepers or whatever. They have something to do with time, right?
Oh yeah, I think Tsukiko maybe was the keeper of time. One of them was.
Yeah. So like if we get NV Tsukiko, who knows? Maybe. But that's who knows if we're going to get that. Who knows if they'll have that skill? Who knows if it'll be soon enough that Edel's damage would still be relevant? But yeah, just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. So Edel's good but hard to use.
And then there's Fissilus.
Not much to say about Fissilus, is there?
Yeah, her crowns bring her LB to a 300 times modifier, which is just like on par with the units we're already not using, like Sniper Fissilus, Beach Buoy, Shinju. So crowns bring her like just on par to those. But even then, she's still worse because those units I mentioned have a 3 or 400% focus buff, so their burst is significantly higher because of stacking focus. Fissilus can't do that. So it's like hers are just way too late. Like they were due like 6 months ago. They were so delayed. And at the time they were fine. They were actually really good. But 6 months later, hers just don't stand the test of time.
Didn't we also get Noctis and Arden EX upgrades with the Kane?
No, in the JP version, they came approximately 3 to 4 weeks after Kane. So we're not late for those yet.
Oh my god, that's the only thing I'm looking forward to. I really want to use Noctis again. But I guess that's not it. The conversation about EX upgrades and crowns is really interesting because in JP at a certain point, like they actually became worthwhile. Like I don't know when they started doing that, but like I was looking at the snow. Holy shit, Snow's EX and like crown upgrades are so good. Same with Furion.
Are crowns still disgustingly rare in JP?
They're actually a lot more common in JP, and they always have been compared to global, because in JP that we have the same sources from events, but JP also gets them as banner pull rewards. So kind of like global gets summon tokens, and we exchange those for like fragments or for premiums like STMR moogles, etc. In JP, the equivalent of summon tokens are exchanged for crowns. So they're still like expensive and rare, but they're significantly more common in the JP server because their banners just have crowns on them.
So
Global,
it would be sort of like buying the trans pearls, except you're buying crowns instead. I'm
exactly.
assuming, like, in terms of price.
Yes, it is exactly that way. Correct.
I wish we had that. I mean, I kind of like the idea of crowns in theory, because I think in practice, one of the problems that we've had with unit upgrade systems in the past is that, like, every single time we've gotten something, whether it's like latent points or ability awakenings or whatever, it's a pain for like the first 2 weeks, and then it's basically infinite. And having this resource where you still really have to pick and choose what you make, I think that can be interesting. I just don't know that it has been interesting.
I agree. Especially when some of these events are time limited when a new player comes in. Well, this game has never been new player friendly ever, but like in the scenario where you miss an event where they give out crowns, good luck.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, what I might like more than crowns is if, like, instead of it being a resource that you spent on the unit and then couldn't get back, it was like when you make a team, you have some number of, I don't know what you want to call them, crown points, and you can allocate them to units, but then you can just like respec them freely in between battles. So, like, you have these 6 units, some of them have crowns, you have 2 crown points, pick where you want to put those 2 crown points on your team, and then those units get their upgraded skills or whatever.
That would
I
be
don't know.
super. That would be super cool if they did. They're probably never going to, but if they did, that would be really cool.
It's a good idea, so therefore Gumi will never implement it. What about Cal? You guys want to talk about Cal?
I haven't done it. Maybe I'm assuming Sinzar has.
Oh yeah, I actually got rank 1 on the first day again. So this clash, it's I don't know. It's kind of like bittersweet because on the one hand, sure, I got rank 1 again, and that's nice, and I do enjoy Clash of Wills, but I gotta say, I don't like this one so much because this one is probably I can definitely say this for sure. It's the easiest Clash of Wills we have ever had to clear. Not to rank 1 because it's still very thick, and it's very hard to hit that damage required with all modifiers on. But as far as mechanically and survivability, this one is a complete and utter joke. Like,
Yeah, and I think there's been a total trend of Cal getting easier.
there has been. We were talking about that in the Discord earlier, and I don't really like that because, like I said, if we follow the same path and the same pattern where each month Clash is getting less and less complex, like in 4 to 5 months, we're just going to have like a literal copy of Dark Visions, a boss that has 1 billion defense and no mechanics, and I don't like that. Like I love Clash. Go ahead.
I think it's probably a response to feedback, because I think there's a lot of people that have been doing the previous clashes and have gotten really burned out on how difficult they are. But I think that the reason that happens is because these are limited time events. I think that the answer is not make the bosses easier. I think it's run a 2 week event where if you can beat it during the first 2 weeks, you get a bonus, and there's also like a ranked thing for people that want to score high. But then the boss just stays around.
Yeah, that would be amazing if they added them to like the Chamber of Vineyards or something after they were done. I'm not for the 50 unit clear, but just like as like a permanently available global exclusive trial chamber. Yeah,
Okay, but I do want the 50 unit clear thing back though. That was fun.
We're removing Shadow from the podcast.
I actually don't mind those, but they are really tedious. I got to admit.
I think there is a world where people didn't bitch out about this about Clash. Like I think it was like in September or was it October? That one was pretty difficult, and then Gumi kind of went back to the drawing board and made things a little easier.
One thing that I'm noticing looking at the wiki page for this boss is that he uses the healing reduction mechanic again. It doesn't seem like it'll come up normally because he only does it when somebody's hiding or jumping, right?
Yeah, that's only. I don't even understand that because the only reason you would ever be like hiding on this Clash of Wills if you were doing some kind of like super cheese clear with Zahn, but at that point you're not healing anyway. So like that's really confusing. Why they tied it to that mechanic?
My guess is that it's either a leftover from like an earlier design that they scrapped, or they made some changes to how the mechanic works under the hood, and they wanted to like just test it.
Yeah, that is possible.
Or they weren't thinking. Who knows?
Probably the latter.
I'm just glad to see that they haven't like scrapped that mechanic and they're going to reuse it instead of only ever using it for one boss. I just hope they do something more interesting with it at some point. And I
I agree.
also really hope they put it on a permanent boss.
I hope all of these become permanent bosses one day, like all of the
Yeah.
Clash bosses.
I mean, they probably won't because I think they rely so heavily on people logging in. Because if they don't log in, they're going to miss out on this boss that'll never come back. But I really wish they would make them permanent. Yeah.
I hate it when mobile games use FOMO as a way to sell things, but here we are.
Yeah, but it apparently works.
Well, the thing is, you can have it both ways. You can have the 2-week event where that is the only time you get like Xenostone, ranked rewards, etc. And then you can still add the boss after the event is over to the permanent chamber and just give it like a token reward, like a 10% mogul and 5 STMR tickets for clearing it. That way, people like me can go back and rerun it with new units and showcase, the newest unit on a hard trial instead of the Ashura trial for the 800th time. Because that's all we have.
I do think, maybe I mentioned this on a previous episode, I think that one reason, maybe a legitimate reason they have to not do that is that the more bosses there are, like they have to keep QA testing these mechanics every time they add something that might interact with it. Like,
Wait, that's your first mistake. You think this game has a QA?
I mean, they do have QA. That's why they like disabled Chamber of Vengeance and then fail to disable, or Chamber of Arms, and then fail to disable it, and then re-disabled it.
I thought we were the QA.
But like they tested it and they believed that some change that they made was going to break Chamber of Arms, so they turned off Chamber of Arms, and it apparently didn't. So I don't know why they did that, but who knows?
Anyways, I think this cow is really stupid easy. I cleared 99 on my first try with Chow. You don't even need Esther for this, which I think is a good thing, right? Like, you don't need to have the latest, greatest premium unit to clear.
Yeah. There's one other thing I want to mention that's really good is that this boss has an EX. What do you call these? I'm trying to remember the name. The challenge options.
Oh, I just call them the modifiers.
Yeah. One of them gives the boss new mechanics, or rather, it gives the boss an HP lock, which is, for starters, it means that people don't have to deal with the HP lock if they don't want to, if they're not trying to do a high score. And second, this is a good precedent to set.
Yeah, 100%.
I would like to see them do more with this instead of just cranking up the boss's stats.
And this is, I think, what we expected from Cow in the beginning. Like, HP lock, or maybe if you turn on the modifier, it gives them an additional, I don't know, attack or AI. Like, it'll be.
It's sort of there right now, but it's tied to the echelons and not the challenge options.
Oh, I guess it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to see them move some more of that into the challenge options. And I mean, I know you said this before, but like make it so that you can't have everything on, so you have to like pick and choose which mechanics are the best fit for you. But the biggest problem is just that it's always going to be a matter of which one gets you the highest score. I don't like Clash of Clans being a scored event. I don't know that there's a good way around that, especially not one that makes them money. So I don't know that that'll ever change, but I would love to just have it be a hard fight that is not about scoring, but that's probably never going to happen.
Not about money.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Like for me, the trial aspect of the Clash of Wills is why I enjoy it so much, not so much the EP and competition of me versus other players. I enjoy figuring out the mechanics and the best way to clear it and survive, etc. So I would like more of that. I would enjoy an increased challenge and less focus on the most important thing being how hard can I hit it in one turn. But that is my least favorite part of Clash of Wills and Dark Visions.
Yeah, and it's also it's turned unit design into a race to the bottom because all that matters, like there's no such thing anymore as a damage dealer that has like an interesting rotation because all that really matters is how fast they can burst and how hard they burst.
I think there should be a cow where damage cap doesn't matter, and I think that'd be a lot more interesting. Like,
yeah,
okay,
I mean, we've made suggestions like this before, like one where you can't really kill the boss. Like killing the boss makes its attacks weaker, but your actual goal is just to survive for as many turns as you can.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But yeah,
we can't have everything, can we? I mean, wait, no, but that sounds like a great idea. I think that would make Gumi lots of money. Now that I think about it.
Well, you know what that actually sounds like, though, kind of in some ways.
What?
The break gauge.
Well, the break gauge.
I mean, it could be done better than the break gauge was. I'll absolutely say that. But
I actually enjoyed the break gauge. I thought it was a cool mechanic.
okay,
It was like it was.
we're banning Sinzar from the podcast too.
But no, like
Are you a
okay.
psychopath?
Well, no. Yes, Brave Exvius didn't do the best job of handling it, but the idea of the break gauge was really good. You set up a few turns of low damage, and you set it up for your big burst. That was really cool. Now, the fact that they stuck these ham-fisted break skills on like 2 units, and you had to bring these 2 units to do the katana break, that was not handled well. But the idea of making you spend a few turns of preparation and then slowly getting like this open weak spot for one turn of the boss, I thought that was really cool, and I like how that could be done.
Didn't the Bahamut trial do that?
The Bahamut trial does have it, but on that one you actually don't want to break the gauge because
I think the way that the break gauge should have worked is, first of all, it should not have been a gauge. It should have been, some bosses have like a weak point, which is a separate enemy, and when you kill that weak point, then you trigger a weakness thing or whatever for a certain number of turns. Because that way, the amount of damage that you're dealing matters. So it's not you bring a unit that just spams with these specific weapons or whatever, and it ties into the existing weaknesses of elements and killers and all that instead of weapon types, which is, in my opinion, less interesting.
Yeah, the whole focus on weapon type, I didn't love that. Like that's probably like taken directly from Octopath or whatever, which is where they got the idea, I assume. But yeah, like Muspel said, just having like mechanics where you set up a weak turn and then use it. I think that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I think there's probably been fights like that in Chamber of Arms or something, like you killed some part of the boss and it got weaker, right? That sounds like the kind of thing that we've seen in a boss fight.
In the city of Final Fantasy, there is, so we call them Lufenias, like their trials are called Lufenias, and the Lufenias are defined by their Lufenia orbs. And these orbs are like specific conditions. For example, the orb is on a 10 turn cooldown, and every time it's your turn, the cooldown gets lower, and if it hits 0, the orb explodes, and then your whole party wipes. So every trial has a different orb condition. For example, one could be dark damage, one could be jump damage with, and this gets extremely complicated the more it goes on. Like one of the recent ones was you use a basic attack that was transformed from an ability. So you're like they funnel you into using specific units in Dissidia. Now, obviously, Dissidia and FFBE feature very different unit design. So even if they funnel you into using like 5 to 10 different units, that's what you're supposed to bring. There are ways to go around the orb by using something like Ico, who basically cheeses the whole orb. So I think something like that orb design where there's like a cooldown and you have to bring one single unit, but then you can build the whole team around that unit. I think that'd be really interesting to incorporate into FFB as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything but Cow and
Oh,
DD
I just
every
remember
2
a boss that did this, and it's, in my opinion, one of the best trials we've ever gotten. Rumble of Malboro.
Oh yeah, when you kill the 2 babies, it breaks the mother by 99%. Yeah,
and it also
good.
prevented the boss from doing dangerous things. Like that fight had issues in that it came out at a time when there was almost no units that could handle it. But the design of the boss was, aside from that problem, it was great.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I usually list that as one of the best trials Global's ever made.
I think there's also a thing about, I mean, we're sounding like boomers, but the good old days of FFB where like beating a trial was actually like really hard. So that's the sort of difference we're at.
Yeah, I mean, remember when events were really hard? I remember needing to find like a lightning carry friend to get me through some of those things.
Oh yeah, like the boss rushes and story events, like the Folka and the Sea Card story event, like the bombs and all. I enjoy that.
Not even that. I meant like really old stuff, like Tower of Zod or whatever, where you had to fight like the 4 fiends.
Yeah, yes.
And that was brutal.
It was. Absolutely, yeah. For that one as well, I had a whale lightning carry me.
Yeah, or Maxwell.
Oh God, Maxwell. That's a nightmarish name.
Maxwell was the worst because she had that like AoE light attack, and there were like no light resist buffs at the time. I think Tillith was the only unit that had one, just about. And it hit like 50 times. And this was in an era when you could not top your team off in one turn. So you would be sitting there watching these hits go up over and over, and your team's health just keeps going down, and you're just praying that it stops before your team dies.
again, JP complained probably, and then we got easier shit. Like, remember when JP
Yeah.
complained about Elemental Tetris, and then we got easier shit, and JP complained about, I think,
I mean,
Gilgamesh.
Elemental Tetris needed to die. That was the worst.
Okay, I actually enjoyed Elemental Tetris because I'm a psychopath. So there's that.
Shadow was double banned from the podcast.
But you see, Shadow Walker, it goes both ways because JP has been complaining that trials are a complete waste of time. Like Archeovavius, Stroper, and Dullahan are the absolute jokes. So the developer's response is to give us the War Mech trial.
I love how Alim's response is never like mild. It's always like one end of the spectrum.
Oh, it is always the absolute extreme opposite of what they're currently doing. Like, okay, let's just complete U-turn.
Yeah. How long do you think it's going to be before they bring back True Dual Wield? And
Oh, God. I wish they
Do you
would.
think they're going to give him a higher chain cap or make up some other new bullshit mechanic?
I think, I mean, the chain cap is the simplest way to do it.
I heard chain
which
cap
is-
was
which is
hard
why they're
coded and they
not gonna
can't
do
change
it.
it.
What was that, Shadow?
I heard. I mean, this might be hearsay, but I heard that the chain cap at 6 is hard coded and it cannot be changed. Like there's some fundamental things that allow they cannot raise it beyond 6.
I couldn't tell you, maybe. But the JP guys are the ones like writing the game client itself, so I would assume they can fix it, but I really have no idea.
Yeah, maybe this was only on the GLEX and like where FFB Global can't do that.
Oh yeah. No, that is definitely the case. Global cannot make like core code changes to the client. That is entirely on JP.
Yeah, but like on JP's end, I mean, maybe they can't change it, but that sounds like the kind of thing where it would be very, very easy to change. Like they would have to change the UI a bit to account for it, maybe. But
I think for TDW, they could just
code-wise-
raise the TDW cap to like 400%. That wouldn't help too much actually. Would it?
Well, the way JP is currently doing it is they're pretending like dual wield doesn't exist. The brand newest unit in JP, Roos, he has a CG animation. He's dual wielding in his CG. He is dual wielding in his model. His STMR icon is literally 2 swords, and it's all true. It's all true double hand. Alem has just said we are not even going to bother. We're going to make a true dual wield unit that is true dual wield in every single way except mechanically. They're still double hand.
how are they so
Alan.
bad at this? Like they just have to tune unit modifiers. It's not that hard. Oh my god.
It sucks because true dual wield I always found more interesting and more fun to gear because of killers and everything. Because you're equipping 2 weapons instead of 1. But here we are.
I do think that True Dual Wield took a big hit when we got into the Weapon Imperial era, just because it narrowed your options so much.
No, I think True Dual Wield took
it
it definitely took a big hit with the Weapon Imperial era, but it also took a huge hit when TDH got 400%. But TDH kind of needed that actually. Now that I think about it.
TDH did need that. The thing that's fucked things up now, in my opinion, is that they gave chain cap increase to TDH. That they should not have done that. They should have just given TDH units higher modifiers if they needed to.
Yeah, but how are they going to sell the new STMRs that way, huh?
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
I don't think we really got much else this week. I think that was pretty much it.
We got a story event, which is it's the first one we've gotten since Louise. No, there was another one since then.
There was one more in between.
I think we got the Sniper Faceless event. Didn't they give that one to us?
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They were so graceful.
It was interesting. I actually read through it. It was fine. It was amusing. It gave you the story of Esther and her chasing the exterminator. It was cute. That's about all I can say about it, I guess.
Yeah, I did not watch the cutscenes. Do any of the existing story characters show up? I'm just kind of curious if they're
not at all. Not even Sylvie. It was just well. It starts off with Sakura reading a comic book, and then it ends with Sakura reading a comic book. So the whole thing takes place in the comic book Sakura is reading. So she's technically there, kind of.
Okay.
Oh wait, Esther isn't a real character technically?
I guess not actually. Yeah, I guess she's like a comic book character, kind of like Elena is.
Yeah. Huh.
Who knows? Her in-game bio says she's from another world. So who knows?
Is she from the same comic book universe as Elena?
I think you're putting more thought into this than Gumi.
Like, is there a Marvel Cinematic Universe there, but it's like a fundamental Forces Cinematic Universe where maybe it's too much thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Listen, we put a lot of effort into this episode, so I think we can call it a day here.
Yeah. See y'all next week.
See you later.
Bye.